Yeah, so this image that you're about to see were shot by Fiona O'Connor, whose family owned the Harrington's moving company around the corner from us, and whose brother Michael O'Connor was one of the founders of this project and a very strong believer in spray can art and the kind of music that was being made at the time in San Francisco. Clarion Alley was like a tough place, you know. There was often medical emergency calls onto the alley, and I think no American city is known for its public restrooms, and Clarion Alley happened to be very close to a place where one could buy heroin that was, I think, heavily cut with baby laxative. So we had a lot of sort of health-related issues right in front of our house when we walked out every day. Mr. Tam was a wonderful neighbor who like totally jumped on our proposal. He was a landlord as well, to have us do artwork on his fence. He himself, he was probably in his 70s then, you know, fixed all the walls, garage door, in order for us to paint on it. A lot of Vietnam veterans, you know, using the alley as a place to hang out and spend time. A lot of despair, for sure. You know, La Mission, the mission. You know, there was a lot of celebration of different Latin American cultures going on, and a difference to now is that most people looking at the parade looked like the people in the parade. There was already an ongoing discussion at the time among sort of young urban thinking whatever folks that the neighborhood was changing, you know, and that these gentrification forces were ultimately going to win. Well, Clarion is not that far from Balmy, you know, and Balmy, when it got started and with its focus on US intervention in Central America, never was about something that was in the neighborhood per se, but this part of the world became even further present in the mission. So when we started this project, we knew that we were also working on some kind of time capsule, that if the neighborhood is going to change anyway, then through the walls of this alley we're going to, you know, keep some of this more raw street energy and preserve it into the, you know, into the future, hoping that it will speak of what goes on in the city. We're a group of 6 people, and we reached out to a lot of community members, like all the landlords and businesses in the neighborhood, and elders in our community that have been doing this kind of work for a long time. You know, Ray Patlan was the director of Creativity Explored around the corner, which was one of, and I think still is, you know, one of the places where art is made and looked at from a most interesting perspective. You know, many artists went on to work with clients from Creativity Explored, and some of the clients painted murals in the alley. At the time, in the beginning, there was a Pepsi Cola company or like warehouse at one end of the alley and bustling Mission Street at the other end, and eventually it became a police station on the Valencia end. So we were literally between this sort of illegal drug market, labor market, housing market, and the like institution that's supposed to regulate all kinds of things within the urban space, and obviously wasn't working, you know. So we always felt like this alley was supposed to be between the problem and the solution. And you know, we just started painting the hell out of it. You know, and talking with the people that lived in the alley, both indoors and outdoors, and it was awesome. We had, one of my experience that I treasure there was this 18-year-old sort of punk kid was painting a mural, very, very messy mural with house paint and spray cans, and he had a drop cloth on the floor, and the police car was driving by, and the police rolled his window and sorry, we just, apologized, not wanting to mess up his tarp. And I thought it was so rad. That's kind of like, we've always appreciated like citizen initiated things, graffiti being a well-known form of that, but we really didn't want to do something and have to run away from the cops after they were our neighbors, right? So we wanted the cops and everybody else to respect what we were doing, and what this kind of truly multicultural energy in the neighborhood was about. So it was a big experiment. We all knew Balmy and loved Balmy. And there was people that liked Balmy, maybe some people that didn't like Balmy, even though it's hard to fathom that. But when we were setting about inviting people to paint in the alley and dealing with people coming to us to want to paint in the alley, we wanted it pretty much to be impossible to walk down the alley and for someone to like everything. We wanted to make sure that there was at least guaranteed to be something there you would not like, because that's just how diverse the neighborhood was, and so you had to sort of be prepared to be confronted with aesthetic and other decisions that you might not necessarily agree with. Mari Kono, she's visiting at the time from Japan. She's remained in the United States since then. He's been in that neighborhood, I don't know for how long prior, because I just got there in 91 myself, but he's still around. Some of the people that use the alley as a place where they would seemingly spend most of their time, those were the people that protected the murals the most, and that talked with the artists the most while the artists were working, so it was a learning experience for us, we saw these kids grow up, and I think he is in prison now, actually, that boy, because I ran into Joe, who's older than them. He's not here in the group, but I asked him about him, and he said he was in prison. Cuba, Clarence Robbs, he's been there from day one, and an incredible presence in the alley. Lilac Alley has since, become another such alley in the Mission, and there was Cuba and some other friends who took the energy over there. Mary Gale and Aaron. Aaron lived in the alley years before I moved there, and I was his neighbor and then his housemate. Scott Williams, he was, one of the first people we invited, definitely. He was a visionary artist from the Mission, Southern California. He was around from when the famous punk mall was at Albion in 16, so early 80s. But Scott brought a lot of, just skill, Barry McGee would later, paint on the wall next to him, and it was interesting to hear the both of them say, no, I'm really proud to be painting next to. No, I'm really proud to be painting next to. And these walls later became our, quote, office and storage area for the paints. Is this the end?
No.
Oh. I think there would be a technical difficulty. But yeah, so basically at the same time, I think was the first years where Burning Man was happening. ACT UP had been going on for a long time. San Francisco was always seeking for like a dramatic reinvention of being in urban space and being in society, and with the AIDS crisis, a lot of people were already highly motivated to do that, now knew they only had a few years to live. So it got really intense, and our notion was that we didn't want to go far away from the city a few days out of the year and be really free and have a lot of fun. We wanted to be really free and have a lot of fun and right where we lived, all the time. So we just increasingly spent more and more time in the alley, painting pretty much every weekend, other than being there every day. Harold, I remember when I had first moved there, I went and introduced him to their father. And he's like, "Where are you from, man? Didn't no one tell you you're not supposed to talk to a black person that you don't know, man? What's wrong with you?" It was really funny. That's how we met. Yeah. Harold used to work a lot on his car, and it was one of the first families that I saw move out, actually. And this is a process that kept happening. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, I mean, we had so many protectors in the alley for carrying out what we wanted to do. There'd be extension cords coming out of people's windows and doors being open to use the bathroom and get water and all that. Out of body shops. It's really interesting to see it so like anonymous, right? That anonymous space comparatively to what it became. Aaron and I decided to paint the building where we lived many years after being involved with helping everybody else paint their wall, and we ended up doing like a superhero warehouse sort of storage area. We didn't think it was time for superheroes. It was time for real daily sort of citizen acts. And I think you'll hear a lot tonight about what has happened in the alley since. And I think one thing that stands out to me now was like how much so many people felt like this chunk of public space belonged to them, that right now is speaking to me really loud. Like no one could say this is mine, but a lot of people could say this is ours, in the sense of this is what we have to present to you, and what do you think, who are you, when did you come to San Francisco, are you from here? A lot of the conversations were definitely like that. Poetry, that's one thing that words, we did not only want to have murals bring images into the alley, but we also wanted to literally bring words and stories. And Q.R. Hand was a local poet that was like curating the texts for the alley. Willie Lizarraga was a writer from Peru. He also would help us. And like when we started, we were clear in the fact that we were coming after other people that had tried to do similar things. And we went and spoke not only with Ray Patlan, but also Susan Cervantes and Juana Alicia and Chuy Campuzano, Eduardo Pineda, many people. This is before the women's building had been painted, which is what a remarkable change in the neighborhood.